Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're on to the Agribusiness Chat with Jinmi Ajayi. And today we have an expert who will be sharing with us his experience in the seed value chain. And he'll be discussing with us the reasons why he left his previous jobs to go into agriculture and agribusiness, and several other things that will come up during the course of the discussion. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, so thanks, Jinmi. That's a long story why I left banking into agribusiness. Well, let me start with a straightforward one. My name is Dokun Ogunbodede, and I'm a farmer. I'm an agribusiness person, beyond farming, because I do much more than that. I'm the founder and the CEO of Seedforth Agro, which is basically an agro input distribution and supply organization, with a special focus on vegetables, even though, of course, we plan to do other things beyond vegetables. I'm also the founder and CEO of Seedforth Farm, Seedforth Nigeria Limited, which is basically a greenhouse vegetable farm. We have about 5 hectares of greenhouse cultivation somewhere in Ogun State, and we also do some things in the open field. The focus, like I said, is mainly on vegetables, tomatoes, sweet peppers, habaneros, cucumbers, and sometimes we even venture into things like okra that are available here. I try to call myself an agribusiness person more than a farmer, right? I do much more than that.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for the introduction. And we'll go straight into the topic right now. I want you to briefly tell us the importance of the availability and effective seed distribution in Nigeria.
Yes, I think seed distribution, like we know in this country or anywhere in the world, when it comes to agriculture, the foundation of everything is very, very important. There's a saying that you can't build something on top of nothing. So even if you have the best inputs in terms of fertilizers or pesticides, even the know-how, if you don't build it on a very strong and quality seed, you're building it on nothing. It's basically like when you want to construct a building and you have a wobble foundation, it's going to be crisis. Whether you can bring the best engineers together, you can spend a lot of money on the furnishing of the house. If you don't get the foundation right, it's nothing. So basically, that's what the seed represents. To the farmer, to the average farmer in the country, the quality of seed is extremely important. Not just the siblings is very important. Just like a child that is growing up, I mean, the foundation part of the child is when they are growing up, their brain develops. You're able to feed them very well so that they can assimilate and develop them for the future. And that's what the seed represents. So it's extremely important that we have very good quality seeds. And Nigeria being a vast country, we need the seeds to be able to get distributed all over the country too. So you need, it's very important that you can get to the farmers where they are. We know the farmers are in every nook and cranny of the country. We have people in Borno, we have people in Benue, we have people in the Southwest, people growing in Sokoto, and we need the seeds to be able to get to them. Considering that Nigeria is a country that is highly vast, expansive country with very poor road network and logistic distribution network altogether. The importance of getting seeds across and making them available to the farmers is extremely important, cannot be overemphasized. So for me, it's the foundation. It's when you have good seeds, then you can be talking about other inputs in terms of expertise, in terms of other inputs like fertilizers, which are also very important, pesticides, the know-how, the water, the mulching, the other things that are needed to make it successful. So for me, just to wrap it up, the seed is the foundation. It's extremely important. You need to get the seeds right, then you can put all other inputs to make things work out very well.
Okay, thank you very much. So do we have adulterated seeds in Nigeria? And if we do, what measures are in place? What sort of policies are in place to combat the perpetrators or the distributors of these adulterated seeds?
Definitely, we just like any other, when people see opportunity, when you have a good product, people always try to create fake ones or adulterated ones. A major one, a major way of doing this in the seed business is basically they look for highly reputable organizations that are known already and that people are willing to pay for. Some people, unscrupulous people, definitely will go and look for seeds that are of lower quality or expired seeds or something totally different and use the packaging of these seeds to deceive, basically just to deceive farmers and people that do not know about the whole thing. So this has been going on and on, and it's been affecting the productivity of the farmers. The fact that the seeds have not been readily available. When I'm talking about readily available, I'm not referring just to the vegetables, I'm referring to the old seed business, grains and the likes, to which are even the needs are usually much more. When you look at grain, sorghum, rice, those are even bigger space compared to vegetable seeds. The farmers are able to, this unscrupulous elements definitely will take advantage of this, farmers, of desperation, of lack of education, to package these things to the farmers and sell to them what they will call subsidized rates, and at the end of the day, are able to get the value. There have been efforts by the seed companies generally to be able to stop this because it doesn't pay them. It doesn't pay anybody in the whole chain. It doesn't pay the seed supplier. It doesn't pay the farmers. It doesn't pay the regulators. It doesn't pay the people that we're selling to. So there has been so much effort by the seed distributors, the seed companies, and also the federal government. There's an arm of the federal government called the National Seed Council, basically Nigeria, and this is an arm of the government under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. And they've been doing so much to try and regulate the seed sector and to ensure that we do not have adulterated seeds in the country, and where they are, the people that are culpable are brought are punished. One of the ways they're trying to do that recently is also the coding they're trying to develop, in which, like, you have some drugs in which you put a code on a particular on the package, and you scratch it, and you can now send a text on the number. So they're working on something like that right now, in which case, so when you see a bagged seed, you can check the code on top of it, and you can your phone check it out. So it's something they're working on. It's still starting. It's starting with the grains, and those ones are packaged in big bags, not the vegetables so far. But it's something they're working on. So the adulterated seeds are there. Their efforts, these are real issues, massive issues, just like any other thing we have in this country, from corruption to stealing and every other thing. But I think there's some effort, at least by the body, trying to do some way to control. We hope we can improve on this. And the seed companies too will have to enlighten the farmers much more and make themselves available so that the farmers can know they can get directly from them, and also the authorized distributors. Because many of those people take advantage of the unavailability of those seeds. But when you know the seeds are there, then it makes things easier for them to get here.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. What are hybrid seeds? I mean, for some time now, we've been hearing people talk about hybrid seeds, various organizations, agribusiness practitioners, and even farmers. So could you briefly shed light on what hybrid seeds are and why it's been encouraged?
Basically, hybrid seeds, I'm not a specialist in breeds. I'm a businessman, but with a very good understanding of my business, which is agribusiness. So if I don't use the right terminology, don't criticize. Because there are specialists in this particular field that are breeders, and they are experts, and they go and even research, up to PhD level, to get this thing. But basically, simply put, is when there's an intentional crossbreeding of different varieties of a particular crop. You crossbreed them to give a desired outcome. The very simple thing is basically when, let's say there's a particular crop that is, a particular crop is big. It has maybe big tomatoes, for instance, but it's not very sweet. That's a variety. And there's another variety that is small, but it's very sweet. But let's say I feel that the market needs tomatoes that are big and sweet. What the the breeders do is to try to find a way to cross-pollinate. It's not that simple. It's not as simple as I'm saying it, but just to make it very simple, to cross-pollinate this particular variety, which is big, but not sweet. This particular variety that is strong but sweet, to create a particular variety, a new variety called an F1. It's a new generational one that is sweet and big. I hope it's crystal clear. Let me to tell the viewers so that they can understand it. When it comes to hybrid is a thing that nature does on its own. Whenever you put two varieties on the field by movement of wings of insects, when those pollens move around, they actually pollinate themselves, and they are hybrids being created on a daily basis, on a per second basis, all around the world. So it's nothing, it's a natural process. It's as good as somebody from our own tribe marrying another person from another tribe. We are all human beings, but we get to marry each other. So basically, that's what hybrid is, and it happens. But now, the hybridization in the process of that is being defined is when there's now a conscious effort. Let's say I want to be an aristocrat, and I feel, oh, this one is I'm from this particular family. This one is from this family. We want these two families to marry together because we want money. We don't want the money to leave the family. So basically, there's a conscious effort to say this family should marry this family. That's what the breeders do. They select. So they don't leave it to nature to decide for them. They select, and that has helped really agriculture. There are a lot of improved yield, improved production that we've seen in the last century last half of the century has been largely based on hybrid seeds. It has really affected and really helped production of farming or produce generally, or agricultural production in general. The advantages are numerous. Number one thing is that because those things have been selected intentionally, you can have a desired result. Let's say you want to develop something that has a particular resistance, that has a particular taste. The breeder can actually go do the research, try it out. Sometimes it takes years. It takes years sometimes to just get a new variety out. They can actually do that. So you can have, most of the time, the varieties are usually more, you usually get more production. That means the yield increases because the one of the things that they look at what the farmers want, what the market wants, so they develop that. They usually also come with better resistances because they will have looked for this particular thing that has resistance and mix it together to give it desired resistance. Many of the foods are usually more uniform also. So because they are from the same family, the sizes are usually more uniform compared to what you call the OPVs, which is the open pollinated variety that the nature pollinates, because they are selected. And also when things like shelf life are usually much better. So those are the advantages for farmers. And the push generally is because of these advantages. The belief is that when you have those varieties and the farmers have them, improve their yield, because they can improve the shelf life, which is important when it comes to transportation. They can improve diseases, resistances, for instance. So they spend less on pesticides and the like. The belief that is going to make the farmers richer. And we've seen that happen in the Western world over the last 50, 60, 70 years. And there's a push. Africa, like we are usually the last set of people for different reasons to embrace technology and using for different reasons, really. So we are seeing there's that push generally in this part of the world. Abroad, in most Western world, in Holland and the like, is the norm. OPVs are almost non-existent anymore, except for one or two things. But here in the world, we are there now, and the acceptance is also growing. We are doing so that's the reason, and that's the push, general push for hybrids in general.
Hybrid seeds. Okay. So from what you've said, I mean, that's probably why hybrid seeds are more expensive than OPVs. So I just want to ask, are hybrid seeds, do seedless fruits or seedless crops fall under hybrid seeds?
Yes. The hybrid seeds are hybrid seeds, like I mentioned. You can try to achieve whatever you want to achieve within two varieties of the same family, and that is hybrid. Seedless fruit is a little bit different. It's basically it's out of the desire of consumers to be able to enjoy what they eat better. They realize that when you have something like grapes or even oranges without seeds, the experience is much better. For instance, my daughter likes tangerine, and we had an opportunity to live sometime in some, PSU at a point in time, and she was used to that. When she came back, we're back in Nigeria now. She struggles to take the tangerine because of the seeds. So there's that convenience of eating. You can't blame her. I like the seedless ones too. So farmers have realized that, seed companies have realized that farmers, the consumers, like the convenience that comes with seedless company, whether it's a cucumber or whether it's a watermelon, oranges, tangerine, and the like. So what they try to do is it's still the process. It's in the process. So it's still within the natural phase. What they just do is there's a way to select. Some of those plants have like cucumber. It has a male and a female flower. Two different flowers. There's a male one, there's a female flower. They now build on the selection to avoid seeds. There's a way the breeders go about selecting those things, which can also happen naturally. But it's almost like it's almost the same process like hybridization. It's different, but it's almost the same process like hybridization. So it's about selection, trying to get a desired result or offspring. So what it is that they'll select some of the male organ of the plant, the female one. They know what to do at different times to achieve that their objective. It's similar to hybridization. It's something that nature does on its own, because normally we can put plants if you put varieties in the open field and you leave them, nature will create some of them without seeds. But now what these farmers or what the breeders are able to do is to be intentional about it. So nothing extraordinary, sincerely, when it comes to seedless. So it's something that nature does, but they are now more, because there's a consumer appeal to it, to take advantage of this. So it's similar, basically, to what you get at the end of the day. Is a new hybrid anyway. So it's a new hybrid that will be seedless. If that's the intention. I think the process, like I'm not an expert breeder, because it takes a lot of, I'm just a businessman, I don't want to take credit for what I don't know, but I think it takes much more than that, the process that goes into it, but nothing extraordinary based on my understanding.
All right. Thank you very much. So there are complaints by some that farmers are almost being enslaved by the seed manufacturing organizations or companies by ensuring that new set of seeds are purchased every season. Because, for me, growing up, if you had an orange, you can just throw 2 or 3 seeds in the soil, and then it rains. After a while, it starts to grow. A couple of years' time, you can start drinking or plucking such oranges or whatever fruits you happened to plant, even if it's by mistake. So why are farmers not simply being allowed to use harvested seeds from previous seasons for cultivation?
Okay, thanks. I think I get this kind of question a lot when it comes to hybrid seeds. Number one thing is allowance. Nobody's stopping anybody from using those seeds. It can be used. The seed companies or the seed sellers will not come to the farmer and say, "Hey, you farmer, we're going to sue you if you use those seeds." No, there's nothing like that. And for the farmer, like I said, I'll go back to hybrids and try to explain something. There are hybrids and there are what we call OPVs, open pollinated varieties. Those are the ones in which we allow the nature to create whatever it wants to create. Now, after creating a hybrid, if a farmer buys that, like I mentioned, the seed companies put a lot of effort into this. They do a lot of research, do a lot of investment. A company like I mentioned to you that we happen to represent, spend 30% of their revenue, not profit, 30% of their revenue on research and development. So that tells you the amount of money, the amount of resources that go into provision the seeds. There are times you use about 3 years, 4 years, nothing comes out of it. You might chase, just like drug companies, pharmaceutical companies, you chase certain things and something doesn't work out. You come out with a variety and no market is taking it. So there are usually costs that have to be borne. So there's a lot of research. That's number one. Secondly, the companies need to continue to innovate. Things are changing. There are new diseases that will come out. There are new demands like seedless fruit, for instance. There might be a new disease that nobody ever saw before that you will need to do a lot of research again. So these companies need to move on. Need to spend quite a bit of money. They spend quite a bit of money, a lot of their money on research. That's number one. So if the farmers, if the seed companies have invested so much, and all that they can get from it is to sell the seeds for just a single season, you can imagine they will go out of business. They need to find a way so that you can come back to them and buy the seeds on a year by year basis. That's the only way they can have a sustainable business. And that's just the truth. But having said that, the seeds that the farmers are using, like I said, the OPVs are there. They are still the choice. Nobody will force any farmer to say, come and use hybrid. You'll be encouraged based on the numbers and the fact that it can actually add value to you to use hybrid. And what I would encourage farmers to do a lot of times is before you even move into hybrid, try it. You've been using OPVs, you've been storing seeds from your previous years. Try the result out. Get some hybrid seeds, compare the results. Then you can see whether the cost, that extra cost, worth it. If it's not worth it, then go back to your OPV. That's the truth, because it's about value creation at the end of the day. It's not just for growing sake. If you don't see the value, you don't grow it. Now, so one of the things, so when the hybrid comes, you can actually grow the hybrids again. You can grow the seeds from the hybrids. You can decide to as a farmer. The truth is, most often than not, or almost in almost all cases, the desired characteristics that you like in that hybrid variety, you cannot get it. The seeds will germinate. It will give you, let's say tomato, for instance, it will still give you tomatoes. But what it will give you will not be those particular, let's say those particular seeds that you bought from the seed company, the F1 seed, the hybrid seed that you bought, where they have resistance to maybe TYLTV, which is a very popular disease for tomatoes, and they have the size of about 120 grams, and they are firm that you can actually, they have a good shelf life, and they are firm that you can actually take them to travel all these our very terrible roads for maybe about 2-3 days, and they can be on your shelf for about 7 days. Those are the characters. That's what you're buying. If you remove those seeds and decide to keep it and sow the seed next season, you don't know what to expect. It might be a tomato that might be maybe 50 kg, 50 grams. It might be 140 grams. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not the same expectation. It might not have the level of, it might not have the dual TB resistance. So it will behave in ways that are different. So that's it. So nobody is actually forcing anyone. I think it's just a choice. And I think farmers need to see it that way. It's an input. It's a choice that you have to make. And when you try it out, if it doesn't pay you, then stop using it. But I can say that from experience, it has been proven that hybrids in general add value significantly to the production. And so that is very important. Another thing is this, which takes us back to the question you asked about the adulterated seeds. See, not every seed that doesn't perform bad seed or is an adulterated seed. And not every seed that doesn't perform is a seed of low quality. There is also the issue of adaptability. We can have a fantastic seed that works in Holland, for instance, top quality seed, expensive seed, and because the climatic conditions of Holland is different from the climatic conditions of Lagos, for instance. If you sow those seeds, they might not give you the result that you desire, and somebody might complain that
so they are generally not. It doesn't automatically mean that they are bad seeds. That the quality and is not adaptable to that particular environment. So there are issues that come up, and those are the things we have to consider. So hybrids, it's just a choice people have to make, like I mentioned to you, just a choice that people have to make, not by force. And
whether it works for you or not.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so with increasing food insecurity caused by climate change, various issues across the world, and even our own environment, insecurity and all, And then a lot of efforts have, are cropping up to tackle food insecurity. And then we've seen the introduction, like we already mentioned earlier, we've seen the introduction of seedless fruits and GMOs. So, but right now, or for some time now, people have claimed that GMOs and some seedless fruits don't promote wellness. So how do you think we can balance the fact that we need food, but at the same time, people also need to eat good food, good fruits to be well, to stay alive?
Yes, interesting. I think people are generally not very people don't generally accept things that they are not used to, and I can understand that. And that's the question of things like a seedless, which I try to explain that it's just it's a natural process, nothing extraordinary. Of course, some breeding goes into the process. For GMO, it's a little bit different. GMO, it's the meaning, it's genetically modified organisms. It's basically a process that is different from hybridization, which is the genes of a particular organism is modified. It's usually taking a gene from another, or DNA from another organism, and inserting it into another disease organism or a desired result. Unlike hybrid, in which you have varieties from the same family, in most cases that does hybridization, you can actually, first of all, instead of using hybrids, you can actually go to another variety and take the DNA of that particular desired result and insert it in another one. So you are trying to achieve the same result, but through different processes. One is hybridization, which is nature. Nature does that too, but DNA insertion is a different ballgame. It's like being forced. Like somebody uses it for me, like a woman being raped. You're forced. Sorry not to be offensive, but it's very good things, like just to show that it's a forced thing. You understand? It's not a natural process. Now, because of that technology also allows you to be able to insert DNA from another totally different organism. For instance, you can go and take the DNA from a fish and insert into a yam, for instance. And if you feel the desired, jokingly, if you want a swimming yam, for instance, you want a yam that can go and take the DNA that allows the fish to swim. I'm just joking. But basically, you can actually insert from any of you can insert from, let's say, tomato. If you think there's a particular characteristic that you desire in let's say okra, and you have that particular thing in melon, you can go and insert the DNA, that particular DNA that is responsible for that particular characteristic in melon, and insert it in okra. A very common one right now is the one that has been done successfully. Okay, before I even go to that, let me give the background. In the USA right now, even though we talk about GMOs, and luckily for my own seed company, for instance, and most part of Europe, they are really not embracing GMOs like that. The seed company, for instance, all the seeds we do are hybrids. They feel they don't need GMOs or genetic modification to achieve their results. That hybridization can achieve the same purpose. And Nigeria too, I don't think it's legal right now, even there are talks and discussion around it, but it's not legal to do GMOs in the country. But if you look at a country like the United States of America, I can tell you something that many of us, if not all of us, have eaten one kind of GM.
Exactly. From cereals especially.
Cereals. Yeah. The most grown crop in the USA is corn.
Exactly.
Over 90%, about 95% of all the seeds, of all the corn cultivated in the USA are GMOs.
Exactly.
About 95%. The same thing with soybean. The same thing with cotton. The same thing with, and those are the biggest crops in the US that have been grown. So when it comes to cornflakes and the like and all those cereals that we take, probably have eaten them one way or the other. Now,
most likely,
in regard to that, most likely one of the issues, for something like maize, one of the ways they've been able to address that is there's a particular one called, is this the burrow worm or something, which is a particular disease that's been affecting farmers for a very long time. And to kill that particular worm, there's a particular bacterium that is used for organic farming normally, that they now insert the gene, that particular gene that eats, that destroy the worm, they now insert that particular thing into the corn, into the corn DNA. So the DNA of the corn now, that particular variety, the GMO variety of the corn now develops resistance to that worm or something. I can't remember animal or something. I'm not a civil specialist. So it has been able to manage and increase productivity in that regard. The argument from the GMO people is that, because of that, we've been able to save the farmers, which were struggling with this particular thing, tried everything possible to find a way to fight this particular pest. We couldn't fight it. Now we found something that can do that. So that's more money for the farmer. Secondly, we now use less pesticides, because in the past, the farmers were using a lot of pesticides to fight this worm, and they were not successful, but they still continue to use at least to manage it reasonably. The argument from the GMO advocates were like, can you reduce the use of pesticides? That's chemicals generally. So it's better for the environment, better for the crop and everything. So that's the argument for them. The people that are those are the proponents, the people that are against GMOs will tell you that first of all, the fact that you inserted the gene of a particular bacterium in the corn, and it destroys the corn. Who says that when it gets inside of us, that same bacteria kind of will not, be burrowing our own intestine? There's that question. There's the question of also the unknown, because this whole thing of GMO started just a couple of decades ago, and people are thinking, what are the probably unintended consequences? Maybe things like cancer and the like that we don't know about. So I think it's more of the fear of the unknown. And we don't know where it's going to. Anything can happen in the future. So there are those arguments. For me, as a person, if I know this is a GM, I'll probably avoid it personally. But like I said, I probably have eaten GMO properly before, because cereal, if I have not eaten it, I don't eat some of my children eat a lot of cereal. So I know that one way or the other, we probably, a lot of us have eaten it. But that's the story. So on what the jury is out there for what's the direction for GMO, but it's come to stay whether we like it or not. And I think the biggest issue also with GMO is the ethical issue, the issue of ethics. Because with genetic modification, you can almost remove, and for real, you can remove the DNA of a fish and put in a human being, for instance. Or you can. So people ask, what's the limit? Where can people push? You don't want to start playing with what God has created in His own natural way. And within, if you're still using it to fight pesticides, like bringing the bacteria, that particular bacterium to fight pesticides, really that particular bacterium is being used on the farm generally for organic farming, really. So if people can still argue with about where can it get to? What's the limit? Who's going to regulate it? What can we do? How can you, maybe you can bring the gene of a lion and the wildness and becomes the lion, technically. So these are real issues. They are ethical issues. So that also is a major, I think even that is bigger than any other issue. It's the ethical issue. We're still looking at it and see where it goes. Personal opinion, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. I mean, you gave us a balanced feedback on the question. Okay, so smallholder farmers constitute about 80% of farmers in Nigeria, and production yield is a major factor in crop production. I mean, how then can smallholder farmers improve their income with rising input cost of seeds, fertilizers, agrochemicals due to the increasing forest cost?
The good thing, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm also a grower, so I'm able to feel the pain for the grower. I'm agro input distributor. We also grow, so we feel the pain of the farmers, and the reality is that we can't deny the fact that the FX prices, the way Nigerian Nigerian currency has lost value against the major currencies of the world, is affecting us, because many of the things we bring in are imported. And so when there's a loss in value, naturally the price increases, and you cannot, or you might not be able to just transfer that increase to the cost or to the selling price of your food, or of the crops or your produce that you sell in the market. I think it's much more important for the farmers nowadays to think much more than before, to think first of all as businessmen, and secondly as farmers, because you have to start thinking, how do you judiciously use everything, every input that comes your way. Better to know when to grow. You can't just be growing for growing sake nowadays, because everything becomes very expensive. The tendency, for instance, when you're doing tomatoes, there's a period of the year, about January, that there's a glut because everybody in the north is able to grow very well. The weather condition, the climatic condition, and all the elements are favorable for growing fruit veggies. And almost everybody in the north, in Kano, in Kaduna, in Nasarawa, in Plateau, grow. And what happens is that there's a glut in the market. Prices drop significantly. You can have 1 kg in selling in the Kano market for about maybe 15 naira, 20 naira. And the worst part is even you can't sell everything. You at a very low price. I mean, most of your produce, maybe about 50% or more. That's where you get all these statistics of 45%, 50% of tomatoes being wasted. They get to wait. So people still continue to grow those things every year. With the rising cost of inputs, you need to start making choices and think, am I just growing for growing sake? When should I be growing? Should I still be growing when there's a glut? Or should I find creative ways to grow during the time of scarcity? Of course, there's a reason there's scarcity. That means it's very difficult to grow. Maybe there are rains, it's because of the rains, it's because of some other things. But you have to start thinking that you still have to use this. The seeds you will use during the rainy season will still be the kind of seeds you use during the dry season anyway. You still have to use pesticides, but you are able to sell your produce at a higher price. Of course, it requires much more bigger expertise to be able to grow. So you have to start making choices. When do I grow? What do I grow? Am I just growing because it is nice to grow tomatoes in Kaduna during that period and everybody's growing? Or I'm growing because I see there's an opportunity in the market. So you want to grow, you have to shift my growing from dry season to rainy season, for instance. Of course, you have to look at the issues of growing during the rains, of growing vegetables during the rain, which is also a problem. You will look at all those things. So, and then how do I even grow? What way? What kind of, how do I grow? What is the market desirable of? What kind of tomatoes? I'm just giving tomatoes as an example. Do they want the round one? Do they want the oblong one? Am I going for the processors? Is that what I should target? If it's the processor, what is the brick level? What are the things that are more important? So the average farmer, how small you might be, needs to put on the cap of a business person. Sit down and look at your market, which is very important. We should not just, there are sometimes in selling, you are better off as a farmer not to grow. You will not, you're just forming activity. Everybody's doing from you are going to the farm, and everybody's going to the farm. At the end of the day, you can't sell anything. You are better off just be on vacation, sincerely. You might not make money, but you won't lose money because the market, you've seen it consistently that there's usually a block on that period. Unless you have access to market that is secure, or you have a processor, maybe like a Dangote that wants to take up your produce, even though the price is low, but you know that it's ready to take it. So you should not go. You should reevaluate your production and put on the thinking cap of a businessman. Of course, you still have to think as a farmer, but that should be secondary. Also, see the business in it. So that by the time you are putting the inputs, which are expensive, and they will continue to be more expensive, they're going to increase in cost. You want to be sure that that input is giving you something that's value. If you're able to do that, even though there's an increase in cost, you're able to have very good prices for your produce, and the cost will be minimal or will almost be absorbed by the business. So that is, for me, that's the advice. They need to start, even not only the small older farmers, all the for us and the farmers that are even much bigger than us, and the ones in the middle range and the smaller ones have to start thinking like businessmen, sincerely. It's not by force. Farming is not if you're growing at the back of the house as a hobby, it's a different ball game, which is good. You can try to grow anytime, see and do everything. But when it comes to seeing as a business, you need to think like one. It's not a developmental issue. Unless government, even if government is giving you seeds and everything, there's still some effort that you put into it. You need to make sure that you can deliver the value for you in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like your closing remark on the last question, where you mentioned that even if government were to be giving farmers a lot of input or everything, for me, and I mean, it brings us to this question right now. For me, I sometimes ask myself whether government should be involved in input supply. For me, I think it's better for government to create an enabling environment and let the businessmen, the agribusiness practitioners, the farmers go to work. Because once they go to work, they know there's a ready market for whatever it is they produce. Everything is set for them. But then in our own climate, our government keeps on giving some people or some farmers fertilizers, livestock feed, and all those kind of things. Well, I mean, what's your take on that, sir?
I think I agree with you. You summarize everything. I don't think it's worth it. It distorts the market. A lot of times when these inputs are not even, first of all, evenly distributed, they are given to some set of people. That's number one.
Exactly.
It doesn't help everybody. So really, there's alwaady distortion in the market space. When you say you give it to small farmers, small scale farmers, the big farmers to go to the same market and the price are affected. It doesn't help creativity of the farmers, which was what I was talking about as a business. When you know that there's something that from largesse that comes to you, the way you think it from when you need to create value from the money. So I don't think it's helpful. I think it's one of the biggest problems that we've had over the years, and it has not solved. That's why our agriculture, the statistics and the productivity and the yield level is so low, even compared to many other African countries. Many even input supply. This also creates problems for input suppliers. Top quality input suppliers find it difficult to come into the country because the market is distorted basically. So when you want to sell, let's say you want to sell quality fertilizers, and government is already supplying some at a particular price, and even the one that you're supplying, you find it difficult to break even. So you don't want to come to the market. I've always wondered why Yara is one of the biggest fertilizer companies in the world. They are in Cameroon. When you look at the size of market in Nigeria, I'm sure I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if they don't do a market analysis and realize that it's not going to pay them to come into the country. There's a discussion. It creates discussions, and again, it also creates the middlemen take advantage of many of these fertilizers. You find them in the market, and they are being sold at market prices at the end of the day. So some people take advantage of this process.
Exactly.
Just like what we have in the fuel subsidy issue. The same thing. So they subsidize this thing. The government, the people in government, and some other people, they take this at this low price or at zero prices and make arbitrage. And who is rent seeking? It just creates rent seeking for some other opportunity. So it distorts the market.
Exactly.
I feel that what the government should do we should create very good operating environment for business to thrive. Sure that there's no distortion in that kind of space, so that there are many players. When you have many players, and there'll be competition, prices should come down. If you can, the things like FX and the likes that you can help us you can help us, we should help us with that. Things like road network that you can help us, we should help. That one affects almost everybody.
Power,
things like port, power, things like clearing at the port, because many of us have inputs also. Those are the kind of things that you should help us with. And if they can do that, I think we'll be in a better position going forward. I'm totally against those free inputs, like just, and most of the time they're even low quality. What I
exactly,
because they are even low quality inputs in most cases, and so that's my opinion anyway. I've not gotten one, so maybe that's why I'm angry.
You probably don't need it. You definitely don't need it. All right, sir. So please give us an insight to your activities, or then, some of your activities at Seedforth Agro. One.
Okay, thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, Seedforth Agro is a supplier of modern agricultural inputs. with a focus on vegetables for now. Basically, it doesn't mean we're not going to move to other things, but for me, we always like to leverage the expertise and the experience we have in the space. So that enables us to be able to support the farmers very well. We sell and distribute vegetables, like I mentioned. We are in the sole distributor for Rice One. The Rice One is the top 4 vegetable seed breeding company in the world. They're in about 40 countries of the world, almost 100 US family company. So with that, we also sell agrochemicals from major organizations. We also sell irrigation equipment. These are things that are needed in the greenhouses and then also in the open field cultivation. We sell cocoa peat, which is needed for hydroponics. It's something we use in our own farm and also needed in the mulch preparation module. It's a plastic mulch, which is vital also. And we provide agronomic training and consulting. Basically, we have the expertise, we've done it. We continue to do it, so we can share that basically. We also, our approach basically is to make the farmer happy. That's what we want to do, because at the end of the day, when you have a happy customer, the customer comes back and tell other people about you. So we try to provide, and what do? We provide quality access to quality inputs, seeds in particular, and other inputs from reputable organizations. And we also try to use our expertise to support the farmers. They need it. It's a major problem with the farmers right now, lack of agronomic understanding. So we use our own training, our education, our experience. And like I mentioned, because we have a sister company, which is also grow a farm, we leverage on that experience, the learnings, and we need to train to train the farm and support them. So our partners, like I mentioned earlier, is Rice One, the Dutch company, Armando Alvarez for things that we use in greenhouses, the Spanish company, the Indian. Bayer, we sub-distribute for them. They're in Nigeria, but we sub-distribute for them in Nigeria. And there is Novagris, the Spanish company. They construct our own greenhouse, and we also sell greenhouses and other things for them in Nigeria. We also have some other ones that we sub-distribute for. Our office, we are located in Ogun State, basically in kilometer 6 over the Adulterated Road, but we can reach anywhere in the country. We also have a farmer shop on Abiola Way, Abeokuta. But interestingly, we are in about 5 states. We have people in those places, resident agronomists that are able to go in Kano, in Kaduna, in Oyo, in that they go around to visit the farmer. So we have presence and we do activities, we sell things, we do demonstrations and the like there. Our website is very active, www.seedforthagro.com, and you can send us emails from the numbers that we put there. We are very active, very active on social media, especially our Instagram page, very active. Our LinkedIn page, you can reach us at Facebook and of course, we see you too all the time. So basically, that's the new thing. We're able to reach a lot of customers. We get orders from different parts of the country, hear those things, and we ship to them. And that's what we do. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to share what we do. Thanks for the opportunity to share the experience with you. And we like what you're doing with the platform. I think it's a good thing, because one of the greatest challenges that we have in the space right now is lack of knowledge, lack of information, and right now is going to help a lot of farmers to know where to get the information, to know what to do, to decide even whether they want to go into farming in the first instance. There are a lot of people on radio and everything, and people just get excited about these things. And there are a lot of people that have no experience, have no business being in farming. They've not even tilled the soil before, and they start giving expertise on what they don't know about. Farming is a profitable business, but there's a way about it. There's a way you need to plan for it. You need to know what you're going into. You need to know what to go and when to grow, and how to grow it. And that's where the expertise kind of platform that you're providing is good for the space. So I'll give it to you on that in that regard.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
We have to give it to you.
Thank you, sir. All right. So, what are some of the challenges? Facing Seedforth Agro?
Yeah, definitely. Like the question you asked earlier, a major one is ethics. Many of the things we sell. When I was showing the slides on the companies, they are from Spain, Holland, and India. The reality is that when these things come in, you convert them to Naira, and the cost of selling this increases. So when there's a change, when Naira loses value, the fact is that you have to pass the cost, or you reduce your margin in a very difficult space already. So FX is a major one. It affects everyone. That's number one. Number two is logistics too. We sell seeds, basically. There are people in Nasarawa that want to sell to people in Cross River State. Abroad is very easy. Somebody buys something, I go to the post office, I can ship to anywhere in the country. It's a different ball game. You know, just to ship to ordinary Lagos or Efe, you have to find ways. So logistics is a major problem for us, to find ways to ship things easily, seamlessly. You have to go through a lot of things and use the Nigerian passport to find ways, creative ways to get it done. So that's another one. The another issue is that because there's a lack of expertise, and most of the farmers, like you mentioned, the 80% farmers you mentioned, they are small scale. They don't have not so much education. They know what they are growing, but they need much more. You need to support them. If you are abroad, for instance, most of the farmers are educated. The things they're talking about, probably technology, talking about robotics, talking about new things. But yeah, you're talking about how to tell the soil, how to kill the soil. So, which is okay. I think they will get it. So, but you have to communicate in a language that they understand. That's okay. That's even fun. I think the bigger thing is reaching the farmers. So you have somebody in Kano, for instance. Even moving around Kano is a very big place. So getting to the farm, the risk that was of the banditry and the terrorism right now, and even the road network, reaching the farmers. So you might want to go and visit a farmer and take the whole day to visit that farmer. It doesn't help productivity for the nature of business we do. So for me, those are the three major things. There are always the general things for Nigeria, as we know it. But the number one thing is the FX problem. Number two is logistics. Number three is the road networks and getting to reach people where they are, the farmers that want to support, because we need to go there and see what they are doing. And for me, those are three major problems.
True. Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, we've come to the end of the chat, agribusiness chat with Jinmi, and thank you very much, Mr. Dokun Ogunbodede. And yes, I recall that you shared your contact earlier on the screen, but is it possible you just spell it out, especially maybe your email address and phone number, because some of our viewers are probably going to be behind the wheels, driving, or busy doing something else, just listening.
Yeah, basically we can be reached on info, INFO, at Seedforth Agro. Seedforth Agro being SEEDFORTH, Agro, AGRO.com. So it's all together, seedforthagro.com. You can also reach us via Instagram. Just go on Instagram and look for Seedforth Agro. Or Facebook, they are very active. You can reach us on those things. So easily just look for Seedforth Agro. Seedforth, seed goes forth together, and agro. Just Google it, I'm sure it will come out to you. And from there, you can reach us, and we'll be anywhere you're in the country. We can sell to you, we can support you, and we take it from there. We share our expertise and experience with you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And that will be the end of the chat.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the work you're doing. I think it's fantastic, like I mentioned earlier. It's in there for the space, and wish you all the very best. And thanks for hosting us too.
Thank you very much, sir.